It's Sunday, December the 18th, 2022, 2:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. Christmas is just around the corner. New Year's is just around the corner. Let's do it again, ladies and gentlemen. That track's just not long enough. It's just not long enough. Scream 6. March. It's only a couple of months away. Scream 6. Are you excited? Do you care? Frank Riker's going to be first in line. Frank Riker has his tickets booked right now. Front row. Scream 6. I saw the teaser trailer the other day, the poster. Now, full disclosure, of course, as I've said many times on this channel, I am not a gigantic Scream fan. I really like the first Scream. I always have. I remember when it came out, I was 17 years old, and it was a pretty big deal. But I let's just put it this way. When it comes to the Scream franchise, it's not that there are I mean, even 3, it's not like it's a terrible movie. I mean, the Scream franchise, albeit they only have 5 films, but Scream hasn't hit their resurrection yet. You know, it hasn't hit the return of Michael Myers yet, or, their Freddy's dead yet, Ghostface is dead. I mean, they haven't had those kind of movies yet. So I don't have any issues with any of the other films beyond 1. I just think the first one, as I've said many times on this channel, is such a perfect example of what Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson and everybody involved was trying to create, right? That it's the perfect example of what that movie was supposed to be. And I think 2 and 3 and 4 and even 5 are largely just lesser versions of that first movie. They're not bad movies. They're fine. They're Scream movies. Like, that's kind of how I felt about Scream 5. I watched it and I thought, there's nothing wrong with this. It's competently made, some good kills in there. And Roger Jackson as Ghostface is great. And it's nice to see, the legacy characters and get some new characters in there. And I watched it live on this channel for the very first time whenever it was, January, February. Tony and I watched it live on this. Neither of us had seen it. We watched it live on this channel on an episode of Two Dudes. And I had never even heard of Jenna Ortega. Never even heard of her. No idea who she was. And I know she had done a few other things prior to this, but I had no idea who she was. And in that movie, for whatever reason, I don't know what, it's not like she's got a gigantic part. In that movie, I said live on the air, I said, that girl's going to be a star. There's just something about the way she looks, her presence. She's going to be a star. And sure enough, I'm just saying. Jenna, my invoice is in the mail. But no, so I don't hate any. There isn't a Scream movie I hate. There isn't a Scream movie that I think is just terrible. Oh no, this is bad. I know a lot of people like to point to Scream 3 as but But I've just never been a really big Scream fan. But there's a lot of big Scream fans out there, man. A lot of them. So Scream 5 came around last January, and I was, I was curious, to see it. It's always fun to see legacy characters back. And I said in the lead up to that movie, I said, one of them's got to die. I had speculated that I thought that Scream 5 was going to open with Dewey's death. And if you follow me for any length of time, you know that I sort of speculated on that. I said, maybe that's what draws Courtney Cox's character, Gail and Sidney back into the fold, because neither of them why the hell would you still be living in Woodsboro, right? So I thought that maybe Dewey, how the film opens with Drew Barrymore's death. I think maybe Scream 5 opening with Dewey's death, that would have been really cool. And then that's what, so I speculated on that, as a lot of us did. I mean, I'm not the only one that speculated on that. But certainly there are I knew that somebody's got to go. And I actually would have been okay if it was Sidney. Nonetheless, it was what it was. I watched it. I thought it was fine. I haven't watched it since, but it's fine. You know, it was fine. It was a Scream. It was a Scream movie. Now they're doing Scream 6. Scream 6, folks. Scream 6. And now they are pivoting and going in a different direction. And, you know, leading up to this, as I've said on this channel, it's interesting because it's like, how is this going to go? We've seen this happen before where when you are, not that Scream needed to get everybody back on board. I don't think before Scream 5, I don't think Scream as a franchise was in the toilet with the fans, like say Star Wars was, or Halloween was, or, you know, Elm Street is, you know, all that kind of stuff. But we have seen franchises in the past where directors will play it safe, right, with the reboot film. So I like to use The Force Awakens as an example because I think it's the perfect example, right? I adore that film, but a lot of people maybe thought it was a little too safe. But I always thought it was what it needed to be to get everybody back on board, right? Deliver something familiar, something safe, while still pushing the narrative forward, some new characters, blah, blah, blah. I just think Rian Johnson just went a little too far, a little too avant-garde, but that's me. But we've seen that before. We saw it with Rob Zombie's Halloween, right? Yes, it's, you know, he has a backstory there, and it's very much a Rob Zombie film. But in the world of Rob Zombie, he did play it safe. You know, there's a lot of familiar story beats, a lot of, you know, it's a lot of kind of similar Halloween stuff. And then you get to part 2 and he shifts focus and he does his, now that he's done his, you know, little tip of the hat to John, you know, now he's going to go off and do fucking his own thing. And here you get Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. We've seen that kind of thing, right? Deliver something safe, Force Awakens, and then we get The Last Jedi. It's like, you know what I mean? We've seen these kinds of things happen before. Halloween, right? Halloween 18. Different, but, you know, kind of, and then we go off and, you know, kills. And so what is Scream 6 going to be like? Now that they've given you a Scream movie to get everybody back on board, we'll play it a little safe. We'll set it in Woodsboro. We'll bring the girls back, all these people back, all these familiar callbacks that you really love. You know, we'll just get you back on board. Come, remember this, remember this. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, because sometimes those movies are great and you need those kind of movies. Like I said, I love The Force Awakens. I thought it was exactly what Star Wars needed. Star Wars was in the fucking outhouse shitter. Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby. Like, seriously, I mean, Star Wars had been eating way too many enchiladas. You know what I'm saying? But here we are. You know, they've given you the Scream movie to get you back on board. Now they're taking it in a completely different, not a completely different direction, but now they're doing, you know, Ghostface Takes Manhattan or Montreal. For those of you that don't know, it was shot all in Montreal. It was not shot. I mean, there was probably some B-roll, you know, that they did. I'm sure they had a second unit in New York shooting some streets, shooting some signs, some skyline shots, 100%. And there may have even been some stuff with the main cast shot in New York. I don't know, but the vast majority was shot in Montreal, which I always think is kind of strange because if you really want a New York setting, you would shoot in Toronto, but nonetheless, movie magic. So yeah. So Ghostface becomes French Canadian, really is what it is. But the movie takes place in New York. So we've never seen this before, right? And it always seems like whenever you want to, you know, I hope this isn't a jump the shark moment. You know, it's because, you know, what do you want to do? I don't know. Let's go to New York. That seems like that's like, you know, that's the default. And so they went to New York, shot, the story goes to New York. So there's a lot of possibilities. This might be the injection of adrenaline that the Scream franchise needs. Or it might, I don't know. I don't really know. Obviously you have two competent filmmakers who've had some success. I'm very curious. So the teaser trailer comes out. First, we get the teaser poster. Ghostface looking through the subway window. Who's in there? Who's fucking in there, bitches? Who's in there? Hello. Anyway, so he's looking through. They're on the subway. By the way, it's a fantastic teaser. This is teaser. This is what a teaser trailer used to be, kids. You kids who might be, in your teens, where you were growing up in the modern age where a teaser trailer is 2 minutes and 38 seconds. It's like, no, this is what teaser trailers used to be, folks. And it's fantastic. I love it. I thought the sound design is great. Boom, boom, of the subway and all that kind of stuff. And it's great. It's great. When I first saw it, I noticed that, I guess this must be Halloween because everybody's dressed up. And I think that's cute, right? You got Jason in the background. You got fucking, what's her face from, Ready or Not. You got that costume going. You got the Babadook back there. You got, I think there was a Pinhead. I think there was a Freddy in there somewhere. So that's always fun. That's fine. And of course you got several ghost faces. And again, as far as I love the in a city of millions, no one can hear you scream because it's ironic, right? I mean, that's why that works, because with lots of people around, someone should be able to hear you scream. But the reason why it works is because in a city like New York, that has a reputation, at least, well, I mean, I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush, but certainly New York over the decades, over the years, you see them sort of poke fun at it, even in Hollywood movies, that New Yorkers don't give a fuck about anybody else but themselves. You know what I'm saying? They don't care. You just walk by somebody getting murdered, like, whatever, it's another day in New York. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm going to the extreme to make a point. But so that's the irony of it, right? Is that you're in a big mega city, one of the biggest cities in the world, and there's millions of people, but they're too busy going about their own shit to care about what's going on. It's too noisy to hear shit happening down an alley. It's too this. So it's ironic, right? I like that, I like those words because it's true. And I get that it's a play on, the Alien tagline, of course, in space, no one can hear you scream, but this is good. I like that. I like that. And I kind of thought too, though, that I wonder if it's going to be a dream. I don't know if anybody else in the chat thought that, but for whatever reason, I thought that maybe this is going to be a dream. Like maybe this is it's a dream that's happening. That somebody's having, or maybe not a dream, but maybe like a memory or something like that. I don't know. But there's not a lot to talk about. It's a good teaser trailer. As far as teaser trailers go, it's fine. It's good. It doesn't make me more or less excited. It just kind of goes, yeah, okay, that was good. In terms of the story, I don't know if anything else has come out about it, but when I go over to Wikipedia, it just says, the film continues with the survivors of the latest Ghostface killings. Sisters Samantha and Tara Carpenter, love that, and twins Chad and Mindy Meeks. Mindy Meeks sounds like a name from like a 50s diner. Is Mindy Meeks working here? She's roller skating her food out to the customers, Mindy Meeks, leaving Woodsboro behind and starting a new chapter of their lives in New York City, only again to be plagued by a streak of murders by a new Ghostface killer. So what can we gauge from this? Well, I'm thinking that there's only so many ways you can go. So it can be that somebody is specifically targeting them. Okay, that's one way to go. And they've followed them all the way to New York City. Or maybe they didn't follow them. Maybe they've always lived in New York. But, obviously the Woodsboro murders would probably make national news. And I don't know, maybe somebody who's obsessed with horror movies happens to see Jenna Ortega's character picking up a bag of milk at a local convenience store on Fifth Avenue or something. And, and is like, oh, I think that's the girl from Woodsboro, the survivor. Oh, my obsessions. And then they just, if she's here, maybe they're all here, whatever, right? Maybe something like that. Or maybe there's just somebody in New York that is obsessed with horror movies, same kind of thing, wants to dress as Ghostface, and the clan, our group of 4 from Woodsboro, gets wind of it, maybe through the media, through the television, through the news, through the newspapers, and it's like, holy fuck, it's happening. Like maybe there's like a headline like, murder and only witness says that it was like a Ghostface costume. And Jenna Ortega's like, oh, no, it can't be starting here now. No, it's impossible. And she goes to her sister, Samantha, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? She's Samantha, right? No, what is Samantha? Tara, right. Yeah, so I was right. Her sister would be Samantha. So maybe it's something like that, and then they feel like a sense of responsibility because they know how this shit works. They feel a sense of responsibility to save New York City. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm making this far more grandiose than it will probably be. But there's only so many ways you can go about it, right? I'm actually kind of pulling for, because we know the formula. And I know that some fans may not like the break from tradition, but listen, if you want this series to survive, you have to, it's not about, like, whenever you make sequels, the reason why a lot of sequels will die a miserable death is because the filmmakers will stray so far from what the DNA, the core, the identity of what the franchise is. It's not about, showing a little more or revealing a little more or, whatever it is, depending on what the situation is, right? Like, again, with Michael Myers or, in the case of Billy from Black Christmas, although they're 2 completely different characters with 2 completely different foundations. One is more clearly set in reality, which is Billy, and one is more in terms of the backstory. It's got that supernatural edge. Billy doesn't necessarily have that, but they're both ambiguous in terms of who are they, where do they come from, why, how, all that kind of stuff, right? And whenever you make sequels, it's not that you can't drop little hints or you reveal certain little things or put questions into the minds of certain, of the audience. But the longer a series goes on, the more you have to stray and explain and open things up just to justify why you're keeping, why you are making movies. Because if you didn't, you'd just be making the same movie over and over again. Now with Ghostface and Scream, obviously, it has an advantage of the fact that it's different killers every movie. I think that's an advantage. I think it's a disadvantage as well. But certainly there are pros to that. And I think that my issue is that, okay, we know that there's 2 people. That's the formula, right? There's going to be two killers. Why not 5? Now, I understand that narratively, from a filmmaking perspective, the more ghost faces you add, the more subplots you add, the more characters you add as Ghostface, you might run into a bit of a problem making, things feel properly fleshed out. But that being said, why not some sort of maybe there's and I was talking about this the other day with a buddy of mine, actually, because we were talking about where can you go from here? What can you do? Where can you go? And funny enough, and I never want to give Black Christmas 2019 any sort of, unnecessary props, because obviously I just think the movie's a catastrophic failure. But that being said, it's my opinion, of course. But that being said, what if there was some sort of Ghostface cult, and I sat there and he actually said that, and I thought, yeah, because we were talking about Black Christmas, it's me, it's me, Billy, and all that kind of stuff. And I said, that it's not a bad idea. Again, it can work. Now, it can easily not work, but I'm just thinking a city the size of New York, and I don't mean a cult like a religious cult or some sort of not in a cheesy religious kumbaya sort of way. I just mean a real sort of dark kind of thing where maybe there's a few Ghostface killers out there, you know? And I don't mean a cult where they have like secret societies and knocks and, you know, skull and bones and, you know, the Bilderbergers, I think it is, or whatever, you know, the Illuminati. I'm not talking about that. I just mean that maybe there is a group that is sort of underground in New York, you know, and they want to, and it's difficult for the police to capture them because there's a lot of them, you know, maybe there's 10 of them. I don't know, you know. Again, I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just trying to think of like, you know, what can we do to keep this fresh without removing the DNA altogether? Again, there's a difference between progressing the narrative forward, introducing something new, but still keeping the core of the franchise there. And where a lot of these movies and franchises fail is that in the act of progressing, you know, the narrative forward, they lose the core and the DNA of what the movie was. And then you go from, you know, Halloween to, you know, Halloween 6, you know, what happened, you know? So, I don't know. Is this just going to be two people again? Like basically, do we already know what the story of Scream 6 is going to be? Like, that's what I'm saying here, right? Is that, okay, now hang on a sec. So basically, is Scream 6 just going to be these four people leave Woodsboro, head to New York to start a new life? Get it? Got it? Okay, cool. Things are going well. It's a few years, you know, later. And then there's two people that they happen to meet, and maybe in their college circles or at a bar or, you know, whatever. There's two people that we will inevitably be introduced to somewhere at the beginning of the movie. And those two people will end up being the killer because they have an infatuation with horror movies, or they have an infatuation because they realize that the Woodsboro clan has moved to New York and they want to kill them. Like, did I just give... Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because in a lot of cases, it's all in the execution, and I will be the first to admit that. We've heard that this is going to be a gorier film than any of the previous Scream movies. However, I think that's open. I reserve because they kind of said that about Scream 5 was, oh, it's gory. And I'm like, oh, it's fine, you know? But I'm just wondering, like, is that just what we're doing? We're just basically making a Scream movie, but in New York. Okay, cool. That's cool, because there's a lot of different things you can utilize, right? Like the subway, you know, and alleyways and fucking different, like, I don't know, you got like apartment buildings with like, you know, fire escape stairs and shit, and you know, the New York City environment, Times Square, thinking you see him, but then he's always kind of mixed in with the people. Maybe there's a bunch of ghost faces in Times Square. I don't know what it's like now, but for those of you that have ever been to Times Square, it's great, right? There's no other place in the world like it, but it could also be pretty, you know, again, I don't know if they've cleaned this up. The last time I was in New York was 8 years ago. And of course, you know, and I'm sure it's the same. They have all the buskers down there dressing up as your superheroes and you're this and you're that. And I actually think it's kind of funny because I was standing there and we were just hanging out, and over to my left was Spider-Man, and we had a Batman, and we had a Superman. And, you know, and listen, this is not, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, man. You know what? They're hustling. They're making money. I get it. Because obviously, if you want to go get a photo with them, you got to pay them some money and you get a photo. But what was funny about this is that they were all plump. You know, so I turned to my girlfriend and I was like, you know, this is kind of like, I get a feeling like once Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman retire, they just go to Times Square and just hang out. Like, it just looked like retired over-the-hill superheroes hanging out, talking about old times, you know? Spider-Man's got like a gut and he's sitting there, and I'm just like, hey, I guess you got to do what you got to do. So I don't know if Times Square is still like that, but maybe the point I'm trying to make is maybe there's a bunch of ghost faces hanging around there, right? You don't know who's which, like, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, when Indy is trying to find Marion and he comes to this open sort of part of Cairo, and there's all these baskets, and he doesn't know who's who. He's going up and he's taking the tops off all these baskets and shit and stuff. Maybe there's like a moment in Times Square where you get something like that, where there's these legitimate just dudes hanging out, just trying to get, pictures taken with people, and they're not actually Ghostface. But I mean, there's definitely a lot of potential to play. There's a lot of potential to play. It's a gigantic playground. I'm just wondering if they're going to go beyond just two killers again who happen to be obsessed with horror movies and or realize that, oh, the Woodsboro clan is here. Let's fuck them up. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's going to be a bunch of... Why just stick to two? I mean, is this really... Like, is this a rule that I'm unaware of? I mean, is this like a master and apprentice, in Star Wars or something? Like, does it have to be two? Can it be three? Or will they make you think it's two again because it's like, that's the formula. That's what we've grown to expect, right? So maybe they play that out where it ends up and then at the very end, there's somebody else that comes in and it's like, three. Oh, didn't see that. Maybe they'll play it that way or something. Or I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about it, but I am definitely curious. There's no doubt in my mind that you have a gigantic play box to play. You have New York to play. You know what I'm saying? So that's something like subways and sewers and apartment buildings and fucking skyscrapers and taxi cabs and, all sorts of shit. It's one of the biggest cities in the world. So now, mind you, it's also shot in Montreal. So, but if they can really make us believe through movie magic that they are playing in this playground, I'm curious. I am. I just hope it's not a Jason Takes Manhattan situation where, we open the film in Woodsboro and Ghostface winds up on a boat and it's the last 20 minutes that's in New York. Of course, in that case, it was Vancouver. So I don't know, but I'm definitely curious about it. Again, I'm a casual Scream fan, I guess. I don't hate any of the movies. Like I said, got to credit where credit is due. Scream has yet to have a resurrection or a return of Michael Myers or a Freddy's Dead or a Jason Goes to, like they've yet to have that. There's also not as many movies either. So it could be coming. This could be the start of it. You never know. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, hey, if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts on the Scream teaser. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. And it gets me curious. More than anything, it makes me curious because what we've been introduced here in this teaser is a section of the sandbox that they're going to be playing in, which is the subway, right? You don't get that in Woodsboro. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I wonder what other sections of the New York City sandbox they're going to play in. You know what I mean? So that's what it did for me. I'm curious. I'm looking forward to it. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's jump over to the chat room and see what you all are saying on this Sunday afternoon. Let me go over to the, I know that I think there was just 2 super chats that came in, but I don't want to miss them. There we are. Yeah, Danny Dank sends in $2, says, the New York City setting is refreshing for this franchise. Well, I agree that there's potential there, but I don't think the setting in and of itself makes me confident that this is going to be the injection of freshness and a revitalization of the franchise that the franchise needs. But certainly, there's potential there. It all depends on how they play in this sandbox. And at the end of the movie, do I want to see this story continue in New York? Or am I like, just go back to Woodsboro and fail? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But I agree the potential is there for sure. Marleone sends in $5. I don't have my glasses, so maybe I'm saying it wrong. Sends in $5, says, what if there is 3? Oh, I was just saying that. But one gets unmasked early on, making people think there's only one left. But then it shows that, ooh, yes, then it's shown there was 3. I like that. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, you just never know. That's kind of cool. So That's kind of cool, man. I like that. So early on, one is unmasked. Maybe he or she is captured or killed, right? And it's like, oh, so we've only got one more, and our core group of characters are like, yeah, well, there's only one more. How do you know there's? Well, that's the rule, right? There's only two. There's one. We killed one. There's got to be one left, and there ends up being, what if it was Jenna Ortega's character? I don't think they'd do that. That'd be funny. Matthew Farisi sends in $4.99. Hey, I'm digging the that must be a YouTube thing with the winter snowflakes there. Good teaser, didn't spoil anything. The Halloween marketing team could learn from that, honestly. Granted, it's just a teaser. It is just a teaser, yes. But it's a good teaser. It's a good one. I like it. I like it a lot. The Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast says, could have said it in London. Ghostface on a red bus in a bowler hat. You have a lot of double-decker buses there. Yeah, there's so many places you could do it. New York just seems to be the inevitable. The only thing I don't want is, like, I think some fans have thought, and maybe it crossed their mind, but I didn't necessarily interpret it like this. I think some fans maybe thought that during the teaser, when we see the couple of Jasons in the background, that's, somehow a nod to, I'm not saying you guys necessarily, but I have seen people say this, that's a nod to Jason Takes Manhattan because this movie's supposed to be in New York and blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I might agree with you if they were the only two characters in the background. But it's clearly Halloween or something to that, degree. And we're seeing a lot of characters. We're seeing Jason, we're seeing Pinhead, we're seeing the Babadook, we're seeing, Ghostface, so I think it's just, it's just a bunch of horror characters. Really, at the end of the day, if anything, I think it's a tip of the hat to just previous horror movies. Really, I don't think it's necessarily specific to Jason Takes Manhattan. And that's what I wanted to say too, is that I hope there isn't, I know there was that fan-made poster, which was really good. They had Ghostface's face, instead of Jason's mask on the Jason Takes Manhattan poster. And it works so well too, because the original Friday the 13th Jason Takes Manhattan poster, actually he's got gloves on and he's got like a Scream knife in his hand. It's ripe to remove his face and put Ghostface's face. It works. It totally works. Like, it's not like you can see Jason's hands and there's like a machete in his hand or something where, that's not going to work. Totally works. It's seamless. The only thing is, I hope they don't get too cheeky with their marketing, because it's not like Jason Takes Manhattan is a great fucking movie. It's not. I know it has its fans, and maybe it's one of your favorites. That's fine. But generally speaking, it's considered one of the worst in the franchise. And because of Jason Takes Manhattan, we got Jason Goes to Hell. So, I mean, it's not a movie you want to be calling back to. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping that in the marketing, they don't call back to it at all. Like, I don't want to see like a stylized official Scream 6 poster that is in the vein of that. It's really well done, but I don't want to see that, because it just for me, it calls back to a movie that I think's dog shit. So I'm just like, well, so what are you saying, that this is going to be dog shit? Like, I know that's not what that, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I don't need to see that. I don't think there needs to be any Friday the 13th Jason Takes Manhattan reference in this film at all. I understand that this is the first time we're seeing one of the big horror characters in New York outside of Jason Takes Manhattan, right? It's not like we've ever had Freddy in New York or Michael in New York or Chucky in New York, although we have had Chucky in Chicago, because I mean, that's where, you doll. But you know what I mean, right? You know what I mean? So I just hope they don't get too cheeky with the marketing. But that's me. It's just because I'm a purist. Howdy do, the father. Oh, okay. I already got that. Yep, got that. Oh, did I get them all already? I think I did. Yeah, okay, I did. Cool. I thought I had missed one. Scream on ice. That'd be funny. Destiny Faulkner says, Ghostface in Texas with a cowboy hat on. Okay, Destiny. Now we're getting crazy. Why not? Ghostface takes Texas. Yes. I'm in. Mike Johnson says, in Ohio, I suspect in early March, it will be miserable, cold, snowy day. So I will just welcome and appreciate the opportunity to get out and enjoy a night at the theater watching Scream 6. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Sometimes that's the way to go, right? That's the way to go. Alex Shambog says, I heard a take where the opening kill should have Ghostface die. What are your thoughts? Well, Ghostface isn't anybody in particular, right? Anybody can be Ghostface. So if Ghostface dies in the opening of the movie, Ghostface hasn't really died at all. You know, it's not like Ghostface is a singular individual or a singular entity. So if Ghostface dies in the beginning of the movie, to the viewer's point earlier, who was it now? Yeah, Marilyn. There's a couple ways I think you can say that. My apologies if I'm butchering it. Anyway, said that maybe one is killed, but there's actually still two more left, or one more left, or there's so many ways that you could go about it. I just think we have to remember, see, it's the strength of Scream, but it's also the weakness of Scream as well, that anybody can be Ghostface. It's like, and somehow they have the same, I don't know. I'm really curious, because if this movie doesn't succeed and it's just okay, the Scream franchise could be in trouble. I know there are some people that think that because Ghostface can be anybody, that's, for that reason, it can just go on and on and on and on. Well, okay. I get it. Yeah. Especially when you're, making it relevant to the state of horror at the time of the film's release and all that kind of stuff. I understand that. I disagree though. I think the formula is pretty predictable now, right? That's why I think it works so well in that first movie, but the formula is pretty predictable now. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do in this new installment. But if Ghostface were to die in the opening of the movie, I think it would be interesting. But if it's just one Ghostface, there's another one out there, likely. And there could be another. That's why I think it would be really cool if there was like a cult or something, or a group. Maybe not a cult, because that insinuates that there's like, it's religious to some degree, or very sort of there's hierarchies and very organized, and things like that. And maybe not. Maybe it's just a group. Maybe there's 5 of them, or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe they're trying to start a cult or something. Maybe they're young people that are, or do they have to be young? I mean, we've seen today, and I get that's part of the formula, but do they have to be young? Do they have to be the same ages as our protagonists? Can they be older? Can they be younger? Can they be fucking like older in the sense to add a little bit of extra, I don't know, maybe they're in their 30s, maybe they're 40s. I mean, I know obviously going back to Scream 2, one of the killers was, the mom. And I get that. I'm just shooting from the hip, thinking about shit. I don't know. Frank's right though. This fucker trips over air. Yeah, he did. But it worked. Like once you realized, and when it comes to Stu, by the way, I am not on the Stu bandwagon that Stu is alive and he's going to come back. I think that is pure fan fiction, fan hoping and wishing. Of course, anything is possible. But I find that that's a problem today in the world of fandom and that's where expectations come in, right? I mean, I'm not saying you necessarily specifically, but there are a lot of individuals that get so worked up over certain theories and certain expectations that when it doesn't happen, it really ruins the experience for them. I don't think Stu is coming back at all. I see no reason for it. I know that Billy Loomis came back, but he didn't come back. He was still dead. He was just in, his daughter's mind. It was through the use of symbolism and a bit of cinematic language. The filmmakers are trying to communicate to the audience, the psychological effect. Maybe there's a bit of nature, maybe there's a bit of nurture, who knows? I think this was trying to sort of communicate there might be a bit of nature in here, like, in terms of, is she capable of because she's the daughter of a serial killer, and is she capable of this? Is there something there that she's, that's passed down or something? I mean, without actually saying that is sort of what they're kind of alluding to. And I find that interesting, but it's not like Billy was alive. He wasn't alive. He's dead. He's dead, and he will remain dead. And I don't think we're going to see him in this movie. I'd be surprised. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think Billy Loomis needs to be Samantha's, Palpatine, or Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, I don't think we need a Force ghost of Billy through the rest of this fucking series. And I also don't think we need Stu at all. He's dead. He's dead. A fucking tube television smashed on his face. He's dead. But we never saw, that's fan stuff. That's just, I don't think it's necessary. I will be, unless it is very clever, makes total sense, and I go, okay, I'm going to be pissed if they bring him back. Sometimes fans have to learn it is okay when characters die. We don't want to Marvel this shit. We don't want fake dying. The more a character dies and comes back, the less impactful their eventual death, if there ever is going to be one, is. Characters need to die. It's not that characters die. It's how they die. What are the stakes? What does it mean to the overall, like, how does it service the story? All that kind of stuff. And no, Stu is dead. Leave Stu alone. Matthew Lillard is going off now. He's at Friday nights with Freddie Friday or whatever the fuck that. I have no idea what the hell that even is. But I have no kids and I'm 43. So I think, I don't know, it's a game or something. But he's been signed to do that. Good for him. He's going on. Maybe that'll become a series. He'll be involved in that. You don't need Stu to come back. I know fans want him to come back because of the nostalgia, because of the emotional connection to the character and to the original and living in the nostalgia and the warm fuzzies. I get it. But does it make fucking sense? No. Could you think of 500 different scenarios where he could come back? Sure. Okay, so the TV smashed on his head. He was in critical condition. He was sent to the hospital. He was on life support. They didn't know about it for years. They didn't know about it because they kept it secret for this, that, and the other. And he was sent into like a mental institution or something, or he was put into a witness protection program, or he was done this, or he's done that, or he was locked up. He was charged. He's on death row. And then he escapes because, I don't know, somebody, maybe Billy Loomis's former roommate's cousin breaks him out. Of course, we could figure, of course, you could write something, write whatever you want. No. No. So when Kevin Williamson says, no, he's dead, I believe him. I do. Have there been instances, and this is the problem, have there been instances where writers have been coy and have sort of fudged the truth a little bit to keep kind of secrets? And yes, but that doesn't mean that every time a filmmaker comes out and says, no, that's not true. Oh, no, no, it doesn't mean that. I would say 90% of the time when a director or a writer comes out point blank on social media and says, nope, that's not what we're doing, it's not happening, they're telling the truth. They're telling the truth. And then you go in and it doesn't happen and you're upset about it. Well, you were told. You know what I'm saying? But all it takes is just one time because they're being coy with the marketing or cheeky with the material, you know, whatever it is. And now there's a chance. It's like, no, I believe him. I believe him. Stu's dead. And I'll be upset if he comes back because I'll be like, why? Just move on. Move on. It's like Randy comes back. Is Randy alive? Well, he could be. Maybe he's been in a witness protection for all these years and let's bring Randy back. I said, no, let's not. He's dead. Stu is dead. Billy's dead. This is the new generation. Focus on these new characters. Give these new characters a chance. Give new villains a chance. Make another Stu. I don't mean actually, but you know, make another villain that is so good that we go, Stu, who? You know what I mean? That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. It's my opinion. You may or may not share it. That is true, Aaron. That is true. Of course, one version of the Scream 3 script had him returning. Yes, I've heard that. I have heard that. Yep, I have heard that. But ultimately he didn't. And I think it was the right choice. Because of course you could. Like, there's always, here's the thing. There's always the window. Like when a killer gets hit over the head and smashed or something and there's unless you see his head cut off, well, then there is Halloween H2O. But maybe you know what I'm saying. Or a gun to the forehead, whatever. Of course there's always a chance. And maybe in that draft for Scream 3, it made sense because they were thinking, you know what? This is the end of our trilogy. This is going to be the end. We're not going to do any more. Maybe it makes sense to do this or to do that, and we'll get this, and maybe we bring him back somehow. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe. But now, 30 years later, nearly 30 years later, just let it go. And I love Matthew Lillard. We all love Matthew Lillard. Let it go. But the point I was making was, me off my tangent, was when Frank said he trips over air. I can't help but feeling that was probably, obviously, I don't know. I don't know how often or if at all, if Matthew Lillard or Skeet, whatever his last name is there, Skeech, whatever, if they were ever actually in the Ghostface costume during those moments, or I don't know if they ever were. I'm sure maybe in certain scenes, but I've always thought that because of the kind of character that Matthew Lillard was playing in Stu, right? I can't help but feel that the Ghostface that was tripping over couches and air was Stu. That's what I think anyway. Amadusius sends in $5. Thank you. And says, cheers for Billy 2. Just want to say that when characters were thought dead return, it cheapens the story. Well, first of all, thank you for saying cheers to Billy 2. But as I have to say, it is not greenlit yet. If we were a studio and we could just, borrow money from our banks and all that kind of stuff, then we would just do that. But when you are counting on crowdfunding, right? So we've made the announcement that Billy 2 is in development. Bruce and I are nearly done the script. It's very exciting. We're very excited about it. The returning cast is very excited about it. We definitely want to do it. We want to do it. We want to deliver this epic conclusion to not just our story, but the Black Christmas, the entire, I was going to say like two things at once there. The entire, try that again. The entire Black Christmas story based from the original, making this unofficial Black Christmas trilogy. We're very excited about it. We want to do it. It's exciting. Absolutely. But if we don't raise the money, we can't do it. And so that's why it's so important that when we launch that Indiegogo campaign, that we're counting on all you guys again. And this is not hyperbole. I'm not blowing any smoke up your asses. It's all of you that made the first film a reality because you stepped forward and you gave Bruce and I the green light to go and make this movie. You did your job and we're like, okay, well now we got to go do our job. You know what I'm saying? So it really comes down to if we can raise the money. Now I've been asked What is the budget going to be? What is the budget going to be? Excuse me. I don't know yet. We won't know until the script is done and we've done a breakdown and all that kind of stuff. But as I said on a video the other day, the budget for part one was 60,000 Canadian. So let's just go with that. Let's just say we need 60,000. If we only raise $5,000 or 10,000, the movie's not going to happen. You can't make a movie that's going to cost $60,000 on a $10,000 budget. You just can't do it. So it won't happen. If we need 60,000 and we raise 53,000, well, then maybe the movie might still happen because maybe we might have to cut some things or axe a shooting day or something. But we needed 60, we have 53. We could probably still get this done if we maybe we need to take that out or rework that scene, whatever the case is, right? But that's how it works, right? So, yeah, we've got our fingers crossed. We're counting on all of you guys to step up to the plate and help us to finish this. Because once we're done Billy 2, that's the last fan film I'm ever going to produce or write myself. So then Bruce and I shift focus onto original work. And we have an original feature film in development right now, which is very exciting. It's a horror film, which is very exciting. So hopefully you guys will all come out and donate to the Indiegogo campaign. There will be different tiers again, right? There'll be obviously very expensive tiers that you get, a lot for, just like any Indiegogo campaign. But there will also be more cost-friendly ones as well. There's a wide margin there, but yeah, it'll be very similar to the Indiegogo campaign we had last time. There might be a few different perks here or there, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So we'll see how it goes. But fingers crossed we can raise the budget, because as soon as we raise the budget, and that's the cool thing too, folks, is that so let's say we need to raise 60,000 again, right? If we can raise 60,000, I'm going to put the campaign into demand. So you have to be able to raise your budget first. If you don't raise your budget, Indiegogo will not allow you to put the campaign into demand. So what does that mean? So if we can raise at least 100% of our budget, then once the campaign closes, you can still donate to the campaign. So that means that, money's a bit tight right now. Damn it, I can't pick up a Blu-ray right now, or I can't pick up that perk right now, but I might be able to do it in a couple of months. Well, if we can raise our production budget, you will be able to donate it in a couple of months because our campaign then goes into demand. So that's a really cool thing too, that we can continue to raise money after the campaign closes, which is great, because then that means some of the ideas that we had that maybe we didn't think we were going to be able to do, or maybe a cast, crew, whatever, we can then actually do that because now we have more money to be able to do that. So it's very exciting. It's an exciting time. We're excited about it. But it all comes down to if we can raise that production budget. So, and I believe in this community. I do. Again, I'm not blowing smoke up your asses. I truly do. We did it once. I know we can do it again. All you guys are amazing, sincerely. And I don't have an exact date when the Indiegogo campaign is going to launch yet for Chapter 2, but it is spring. So, and it might be like end of March, could be in and around there. So, but as soon as I have an exact date, I will let you all know. And then, of course, I just wanted to say that when characters we thought dead return, it cheapens the story. It depends, right? It depends on what the justification is for their return. It depends on how dead they were. It depends on if you believe it, right? But I agree, if you kill off characters, whether it's a protagonist or an antagonist, in a really, really, really powerful way that really services the narrative, don't bring them back. Because, to your point, it then cheapens that powerful emotional moment from before, because they're not dead. Don't do that. I agree. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Rob Thidoff, my man Rob, says, Dave, your thoughts on the Barbie teaser trailer starring the gorgeous Perfect 10 Margot Robbie. I actually liked it. I'm a big fan of 2001 A Space Odyssey, and I think what they did for that little callback, that little tip of the hat to the opening of 2001 was really cool, was really smart. And of course, you know, Barbie being the monolith and all that. I think it's great. I loved it. I loved it. And I have to admit, that's a movie that I actually now want to see. I want to see the Barbie movie now. I want to see the Barbie movie. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's good. Craven Something Scary says, what people seem to be missing is that just because Kevin Williamson says he's dead, it does not have an impact on the current or future writers do. He said Kirby was dead, but she is back. That's true. But I think Kevin was specifically talking about this movie. As far as I remember, I think he was talking about Scream 6. In principle of what you're saying is not wrong. You're not wrong. But I still stand by what I say, that I think it's unnecessary that when you kill characters to then bring them back, unless it was designed to always bring them back. Now, maybe Wes Craven and Williamson, because we know there was a draft where part 3, he comes back. Maybe that was always part of the design. But, you know, you've had 2 he wasn't in, 3 he wasn't in, 4 he wasn't in, 5 he wasn't in. I don't think he's going to be in 6 either. I just feel that once you get this far into a franchise, to now bring him back feels for no other reason than fan service and to make you go, oh, and it's like, you know, I just don't think it's necessary. You are correct. And listen, I haven't seen Scream 4 in ages. Was it definitive that Kirby was dead? Did she die? Did she die? Did Kirby actually die in that film? Like, we saw her die? Like, did she get like a TV over her head or something? To be honest with you, I don't remember the movie. So maybe she did, and maybe she got stitched up and she's back, and, you know, I don't know. I think Kirby probably already lives in New York, and this young cast meets Kirby in New York. Maybe Kirby will be one of the killers. I don't know. I'm just a stickler for, you know what? When you have a powerful death, stick with it. I don't give a fuck what the fans want. Stick with it. That's me. That's me, though. That's me. Thanks, Craven Something Scary, but you're not right. Like, in principle, that is true. They can do whatever they want. Totally agree with that. Evil Alex says, you going to do Bruce stream taking super chats again for It's Me Billy 2? Those streams were fun, and I love Bruce on the channel. Yeah, I got to get Bruce back on the channel. He's just been so busy right now. Maybe, yes. We probably will do that. I'm sure we might do a Billy 2-a-thon or 2. It all depends on how well we're doing with the campaign. You know, it's going to be interesting. You know, we need everybody. And listen, when I say what I'm about to say, I don't mean to come across as insensitive to people's financial situations. Everybody is in a different place. Everybody has to do what they have to do. You know, just because somebody can afford $30 doesn't mean somebody else can afford that, right? Everybody's financial situation is different, and I absolutely respect that. However, this is an Indiegogo campaign to raise money for a film. So it is reliant on fans and viewers and friends and family and, you know, whatever, to step up and help to make that a reality. So, if we are struggling in the campaign, maybe we will do that. If we're sailing, I mean, listen, all Indiegogo campaigns, they're like box offices, right? They have ebbs and flows. So It's Me Billy Chapter 2's Indiegogo campaign, we asked for 60,000 Canadian, which is about 45,000 US. We raised 50% of our budget in 2 days. In 2 days, we were at 50% of our budget. And then things slowed down. right? So it's like we had a great opening weekend, right? And then things slowed down. And then towards the end, we came back up again, which is great. I don't know how well we're going to do. All I know is that, you know, Bruce and I want to deliver the same quality in terms of production value that we delivered on the first chapter, right? We want to make a professional film, right? A follow-up chapter 2. We can't sacrifice on that. So if we can't do that, then we just won't make the movie. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why it's important that, you know, even if we were to raise $15,000, but if our budget's $60,000 or $70,000, we can't make the movie. You know, it's unfortunate, but that's the reality, right? So that's why it's important for people to understand that. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but our budgets are never arbitrary. It's not like, oh, I think we're going to need this. No, when we ask for $60,000, it's because we've broken everything down, all the costs from production insurance to craft services to the, you know, to the cast, to the crew, to the locations, to the rentals, to the camera, to the gear, to the lighting, to the, we've, you know, over the course of our shooting days, right? And to the perks and all that kind of stuff. So that's why it's like, well, if we only raise 10,000, we will probably just refund everybody's money. I mean, we can't do anything then at that point, right? So we'll see. Fingers crossed. Fingers are crossed. I believe in this community. I believe. I do. I believe in this community, folks. You are truly amazing. And I mean that. Sebastian says, I really want another Texas Chainsaw movie too. The last one put a bad taste in my mouth. It was just Jason with a chainsaw. Well, that's kind of what Texas Chainsaw kind of is, isn't it? Jason with a chainsaw. I'm kind of tapped out on the Texas Chainsaw stuff. I don't really see any need for a Texas Chainsaw film. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of just, yeah. I will be well, maybe not. Maybe Netflix will do a follow-up to the one they released last year or earlier this year, I guess. I'm not sure, but yeah, kind of tapped out on it personally. Mike Johnson, I thought Jill played Emma Roberts. Was a piece of work and a trip Scream 4. Oh, I'm not. Oh, yeah. Did anybody answer my Kirby question? Kirby was still moving. Okay, well, if Kirby was still moving, well, you know. Like I said, there's always a chance, right? Could Stu come back? Of course, there's always a chance. I just hope he doesn't. You know, don't take the focus off the new characters. You've done such a wonderful job on bringing these, like, I understand Sidney, who's not going to be in it, but I understand Sidney, I understand Gail, I understand, you know, Dewey. I understand that. You've gotten rid of Dewey now. Sidney won't be in this one, but she's still alive out there. Does Gail die? I don't, like, this really is a passing of the torch. Now, you don't have to kill legacy characters off to pass that torch. You can have legacy characters just retire and ride off into the sunset. But that's what this is about. It's about building up these legacy characters for future films. And I just think bringing back Stu just takes the focus off of that. It's unnecessary. He's dead. I just don't bring him back. You know, like if you brought him back in 3, it might have made more sense because it's still in that time period. It's, you know, in 4, like that's, you know, you have 3 movies in 4 years. You're telling a trilogy. Maybe. Now it's like, and nobody knew about this. You know, I don't know. I just think it's a little silly now, but that's me. Let me see here. Frank says, no, Dave, I didn't see you playing with your Barbie dolls again. Okay, good. That's funny. Oops. All right. Just scroll back up here. Just trying to get some people I haven't seen before. Horror Paradise says, but rules in horror are if we never see a body, it doesn't count. Yeah, I guess so. But you saw his body. I mean, yeah, but it's lame. He's dead. He's dead. I understand what you're saying, but he had a gigantic tube television smashed over his. Clearly, what that is communicating to the audience right there is this man has died. I'm okay with it. Let's move on. Let's forget about Stu and let's move on. But that's me. That's me. Paul B says, bring back Maureen Prescott. After all, we never saw her die. Bring them all back. Bring back Billy. Bring him back. No, he's fucking alive. I want Billy Loomis back. Let's bring Billy Loomis back. He's still alive as far as I'm concerned. Why not? Unimpressive Media says, hey Dave, as we are a bit past the pandemic, do you expect it to be a bit harder to lock crew for Billy 2 with schedules being busier? Possibly. You know, what will probably happen is obviously we would love to have everybody back. I know that Greg, our DP, he wants to come back and shoot it. So he's in, myself and Bruce, of course. Returning cast, Caro, Brian, and Victoria are involved. Obviously, they're in. New cast, we haven't tackled that yet. There's things in the works. And then as far as crew goes, you know, we would love to have everybody back. We'd love to have Jacqueline back, who was our first AC. We'd love to have Dylan back, who was our second AC. We'd love to have Nikita back, who was our gaffer, and Nas back, who was our key grip, and Stu, and Emma, who was our PA. Emma, of course, she lives out in Vancouver now, so I don't know if she'll be able to actually do it. But we'd love to have everybody back. But you're right. It's possible that we may not be able to. If not, like if we contact Jacqueline, I love Jacqueline. She's a hoot. She's great. And she's a big Halloween fan and a big Black Christmas fan. And she's fantastic at her job. Love to have her back. But if we can't secure her because she's on another show or she's on another shoot, then what we would say to her is we would say, you know, well, who would you recommend? Do you know of anybody that we can contact and whatnot? And then we contact that individual. We say that, you know, Jacqueline had told us about you and blah, blah, blah. And that's actually how we landed Jacqueline. Our first AC, I forget her name. Was it Catherine? I forget her name now, but our first assistant camera was going to be somebody else. And I think they were attached and then they had to bow out for some reason. I forget what it was now. And they recommended Jacqueline. And Bruce was the one that reached out to Jacqueline and she was all in. She was like, oh my God, yes, count me in. She's like, I love Black Christmas. I'm a big horror fan, which is like, what are the odds? What are the odds? It was great. And she is tremendous. Like I said, amazing at her job. And so, yeah, but you know what? Hopefully, once we raise the budget, once we raise the money, that's when we'll reach out to the crew and ask about their schedules come the end of November. But you're right. Obviously, things have opened up a bit more now and they're working. I mean, I follow these people on, you know, social media, and I'm pretty sure since It's Me, Billy, they've done like, I don't know, 10 movies, 10 shows. I mean, they're always working. I'm seeing these guys always on set. Nas, I should say, our key grip and our jib operator, fuck, he's been on so many shows, so much shit. I see him posting all kinds of shit and rigs. He's rigging cameras too and dolly track and fucking shit. He's a fucking magician, that guy. Would love to have him back. He's fantastic. But, you know, all depends, right? All depends. So we'll see. Fingers are crossed though. Fingers are crossed because our entire crew was amazing. Absolutely amazing. But we got to raise the budget. We got to raise the budget first. Let me see here. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, not having Sidney in Scream 6, would you like to see flashbacks of Sidney in the movie? It depends how it's done. I don't know. Well, I don't think it's necessary, actually, because what are you flashing back to? Her 5, maybe? I don't think it's necessary. She was hardly in 5. So if there's one thing that 5 proved is that I think you could make a Scream movie without Sidney Prescott. And now that Jenna, especially Jenna Ortega, we've seen her in X, we've seen her in Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? She's got quite the name for herself now, and I think people are really going to attach to her. I hope she doesn't die. I don't know who the writers are sort of shifting focus to, whether it's going to be Samantha or Tara, their sisters. I don't know if it's going to happen in this movie, but I would expect one of them is going to die at some point because that raises the stakes, that gives bottom for the other sister. Now, again, like I always say, it's not that characters die, it's how they die. And I would expect that it would be done in some sort of heroic way, like, Tara is sacrificing herself to save Samantha or vice versa. So, but because Jenna Ortega is really hot right now with everything that she's in, and Wednesday and like I said, X, and she's really in this up and up. From a business perspective, I'm wondering if you wanted to kill one of the characters off, do you kill Samantha off and then basically Jenna Ortega becomes your new Sidney Prescott? I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't think we need to flash back to Sidney, unless it makes sense to do so in the narrative. I don't think you go into the writing room saying, okay, we have to have flashbacks to Sidney. You write a story, and if as you're writing the story, you realize, hey, you know what? This would be actually a good point to have a flashback here to help communicate this to the audience. And you know what? So why don't we flash back to Sidney here? Well, then let's do it if it makes sense. But I wouldn't do it just for the sake of having her in the movie. And by the way, if they do that, you got to pay Neve Campbell. You can't just do that, right? You can't just flash back to her. You have to pay her. She has to be paid for it. So, because she's making an appearance in the movie. So, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Aaron Click says, the world economy isn't great. Hey, that's true. It probably still won't be great during the Indiegogo campaign. We're probably all feeling the pinch, but hey, we did it during the pandemic. We can do it again. That's the spirit. That's the spirit, Aaron. But you're right though, man. I mean, you're right. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard to gauge how well this campaign's going to do. Now, if we don't raise our production budget, so let's say we're asking for 60, we get 35. I'm like, okay. Well, then the campaign closes. We can't go into demand because we didn't reach our goal. So then nothing is stopping us from opening up another one. Now I have to find out if there's like a waiting period. Like I wonder if you have to wait like a month or something before you open up another one. I'm not sure. But if we get half, like if we're asking for 60 and we get 30, I think it's worth then running another one. I think at that point it's worth it. If we're asking for 60 and we raise, $500, well, then clearly there's no interest. And it's kind of like, okay, we'll just refund this $500 and we'll just say that, sorry, would love to, but can't do it. Nobody's showing up. So it all depends. It all depends. But nothing is stopping us. If we don't reach our goal, like again, because that's one of the reasons why we wanted to launch it in the spring. You see, the first campaign was launched on July 4th, not because it was July 4th. It just happened to be that day. But it was late. We were originally wanting to launch in April and then COVID hit. And we didn't know, Jesus, do we launch? Do we not launch? Do we delay? Like we don't, how long is this going to be going? How long is everything going to be shut down? We didn't know, all that kind of stuff. So we delayed it through April. We delayed it through May. We delayed it through June. We delayed it by 3 months. And then we thought, well, we want to shoot in November. Let's just do it and see what happens. And we did it, and we did it, which was shocking. I mean, it was amazing. So to your point, Aaron's right. Like, well, if we did it during a pandemic, maybe we can do it again. You know what I mean? We'll see. We'll see. It's It's never easy, but I believe in this community. I do. I believe that they can make it happen. You know what I mean? And again, because some people have said, well, if you raise, $10,000, that's enough to make a movie. It's yes, it's enough to make a $10,000 movie. But people have to understand that now we've set the bar for ourselves and in a lot of respects for a lot of fan films. We need to reach that bar is the minimum now, right? So in order to make a movie like that again, it's going to cost money. So I don't want to deliver a subpar product. So if we raise 10,000 and that's all we raise, but our budget's like 80,000 or something, I will just refund everybody, because it's just not worth it. I cannot set, I'm not going to deliver a subpar, thing where we have to cut so much. Like, again, if our budget's 60 and we raise 53, that's different because we're so close. And there might be, maybe I can put in, $500, Bruce can put in $500. There's an extra 1,000. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe there's some wiggle room there, but it all depends on how close we get. And that's why it's so important to be able to reach that goal. But you're right, it's not easy. And again, I say that, listen, I respect everybody's financial situation. You got to do what you got to do. And that's why, we always say too, that if you can't support financially, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it on horror, Facebook pages. The more people that know about it, the more people that, again, right, the more eyeballs we get on it, the probability goes up that we can raise it. So we'll see. Nervous, but we'll see. We'll see. And of course, I'll be talking about it a lot. Just know, I will be talking about it a lot on the channel. I will be talking and posting about it a lot on social media. It's not that I'm trying to be, an annoying, person talking about it all the time. But when you are the studio and you are an indie filmmaker crowdfunding, if I don't talk about it, who's going to talk about it? I got to talk about it, right? So just know that when the campaign leading up to everything and all that, I got to be a little annoying for a little bit. Share. Sebastian says, maybe she steals Billy's mask in this movie and he is behind everything. I don't know. I've often thought that a really cool idea for Scream would be that all these years, there actually is a real Ghostface. And see, this is where the cult thing might come in a little bit. I thought, and you don't have to agree with this, but I thought a really cool thing would be that Roger Jackson is essentially the one constant through all these films, right? It's the same voice. And I understand that it's played off as, well, it's the same voice because it's the same voice changer. Okay, fine, whatever. Okay, I buy it. It works. It's fine. But how cool would it be that if those phone calls were not from Stu, were not from Billy, were not from Billy's mom, right? We're not from whoever the girls or whoever the killers were in five. It actually is coming from a host. There is a host. There is an actual guy with that voice. Now, I'm not suggesting you hire Roger Jackson, okay? I'm just saying that there is an actual guy. And it's almost like these ghost faces are doing his bidding. I know that sounds really cheesy and corny, and I don't mean it like that. I'm just saying, how cool would it be if like maybe eventually like Sidney comes back and they actually she actually goes up against the Ghostface, the one that's been on the phone the whole time. Maybe not the one that's been chasing her around her house and apartment and dorm rooms, but the one who's been, hello, Sidney. That one. You know what I mean? That guy, that voice. Now, I know you could say, oh, but there's a couple of scenes where we see the characters put the thing up to their voice and go, nah, but I get it. I get that. But you could weave it into the narrative. You could work around that. You could make that make sense while still having this. I always thought that kind of might be interesting. I don't know. I thought it might be kind of interesting because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, where do you go? Like, what do you do? Right? Hybrid articulation says that would be an awesome twist. I think so too. Now, again, it could also be a fucking dog shit twist, right? I mean, it all depends on how you do it. because you want the audience to go, oh shit, no way I did. Oh, shit just got real. Like, you want that, right? But with a twist like that, it could also easily be, oh, fuck off. Seriously? No, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, come on. You don't want that, right? So it all depends on how you're massaging it. But I'm telling you, man, I've often thought that might be interesting, you know? But it kind of feels like something you would do. And this is the problem, is that it kind of feels like something you would. This is the problem with storytelling in Hollywood, in franchises, is that the more money that movies make, the more movies they make, even when there is a real intention to end something. And that's a problem. Like that feels like something you would introduce in like a final chapter. Do you know what I mean? You know, Sidney versus the real Ghostface. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, or Jenna Ortega versus the, you know, whatever, right? Like it feels like something that would be the climax. Like because at that point, whoever this Ghostface guy is, he's the emperor for all intents and purposes, right? And all the ghost faces that were doing the killings were all his Darth Vaders, you know? So it feels like, well, once you meet the Emperor, where do you go? Like, you don't continue the story after that. Once he's dead, it's over. Do you know what I mean? And so I feel like something like that would be something that would be, but the problem is that if it makes a shit ton of money, they'll continue it. And it's like, but then why? This is fucking shit. I don't know. But I think it actually might be kind of interesting. I think it might be kind of interesting. I don't know. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Okay, I haven't missed any super chats, right? Oh, wait. Hang on a sec. Yes, the super chat here comes in from Calvonics Music. Calvonics Music says, what happened to your short film Fish? Same thing that happened to a few of my short films online, which is the audio was out of sync. And I don't know, YouTube's been very strange recently. I know that our pals over at The Slaughtered Lamb had a couple issues with a live stream the other day. And of course, I had to remove the live show I did last week. I'm hoping nothing happens with this show. But the live show I did last week, I had to take down. I had to take it down because I did 2 hours. About halfway through, it froze. So I was like this, and there was no audio. So it just looked like a still picture for like an hour. And then because of something that happened there, the beginning of the show was out of sync by like 30 seconds. It was unwatchable. And I'm like, I can't leave that up there. It feels messy. So I took it down. It happened with The Night He Came Back, happened with Fish. And there's one other one it happened with too, where I don't just mean like a little bit out of sync. I mean like 30 seconds out of sync, where it's just unwatchable. So yeah, unfortunately, I mean, maybe I'll try to upload them again in the future, but that's what happened, man. That's what happened. Let me scroll. That was a while ago. My apologies, buddy, for not getting to that super chat earlier. I don't think I've missed any others. Just close some of this stuff down here. Scream 6. Yeah. Oh. All right. Let me see. A lot of you guys, a lot of scream. You know what? I have to admit, I didn't realize how many Scream fans there are. Like diehard Scream fans there are, or were. Were and are, before coming on and doing this YouTube channel. I mean, I know it's Scream. I know it's popular. I know it has embedded itself into the pop culture horror zeitgeist. But when that Scream 5, like when it was announced that they were doing a Scream 5, holy shit. It wasn't quite Halloween levels, but I didn't realize. And what happened was that I think I did I think I first noticed it a few years ago when I did a pre-recorded video where I was talking about, I think I was just talking about the Scream franchise or something. And it racked up like 2,500 views in like an hour or something like that. And I was like, the fuck? And this is like 2018 or 19 or whatever it was. I'm like, what? Okay, wow. And then when they announced they were doing a Scream 5, like the pulse on social media, Twitter, Facebook, I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of people fucking off the chain about this fucking movie. I'm like, I didn't realize there were so many, again, not quite Halloween level, but a lot of Scream fans. I wonder if it's like, again, when the first Scream came out, I was already 17. So I grew up with, Jason and Freddy and Chucky and Michael. And when Scream came out, I thought it was good. I liked it, but I wasn't like, whoa. And I think maybe for some younger viewers, maybe Scream became their Freddy and Jason as they were kids growing up through the 90s or something. Or like if you're 10 years younger than me, say you're 33, well, you would have been 7 when Scream came out, right? So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a lot of, I just didn't realize. I didn't realize there was this much love for Scream. I did not realize it at all. But it's crazy. It's a lot of Scream fans out there. A lot of Scream fans. Okay, we'll go for a few more minutes here. You guys are, what do you guys just talking amongst yourselves? I love it. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, which opening kill of Scream movie you like? I can't remember them. Only the first one. I can't remember the opening kill of the fourth one, the third one, or the second one. So I'll have to go with Drew Barrymore in Scream. And by the way, Nah, forget it. I don't want to get into that. Forget that. Tokyo Convertible 87. I love it. Says, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has 3 Scream stars in it. One is Timothy Olyphant, also Rebecca Gayheart, and Mikey Madison. Timothy Olyphant, yes. Rebecca Gayheart and Mikey Madison. I'd have to look those. I'm drawing a blank on their faces at the moment for some reason. I will have to look at that. I did see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I saw it in the theater, actually, and quite liked it. Okay. Let's see here. We're at 90 minutes. Let's go another 10 minutes. We'll go another 10 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. That'll be an hour and 40 minutes. That's a good stream. Paul B says, there's a realism to Scream, the original one at least, unlike the big 3, which has mass appeal. There's a realism to Scream. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess in the sense that, but I don't feel like I'm watching something real. I know what you mean when you say that. But I guess I'm just surprised. I think I'm surprised because it's just basically the same movie over and over again. Now, you could also say that about Friday the 13th, 1 through 4, or 1 through 6 at least, or 5 at least. 4 for sure, because it's just kids going to camp. You could say that a lot about a lot of franchises, but for me, because of the kind of movie Scream is, again, it's that self-aware sort of self-deconstruction of the horror. It's poking fun of itself. It's not quite a spoof movie. Like, it's not like Airplane. It's not like, or Scary Movie, which, by the way, was supposed to be the original title for Scream, for those of you that didn't know that. I'm sure all your Scream heads know that. Or Screamers. Are you called Screamers? Maybe you're called Screamers. But because of the kind of movie it is, I just think that first movie was like, okay, so here's the story we want to tell about kids. So we want to poke fun at the horror genre, kind of a self-aware, rules-based. The kids have to follow the rules of horror movies to survive a horror movie. It's like, oh, that's kind of fun. It's kind of a little meta, a little self-aware. Okay, cool. I just think the first Scream is is the best depiction of that over the other 4 films. It's not that there isn't enjoyment out of those 4 films. I just kind of feel like the first one did it the best. So whereas you can make an argument that, well, Friday the 13th 2 is actually better than 1, or 6 is better than 3, or you can kind of point to those things. I kind of feel the same way about Halloween. It's like, and I like 2. I like Halloween 2 and 4. But I think you know what I'm trying to say. Lee Bowers says, Dave, hey Dave, how are you? I just picked up Black Christmas on 4K at Best Buy, doing a movie night tonight with my girlfriend. Amazingly, yes, I still have not picked up Black Christmas on 4K, but you're saying it's at Best Buy. I may have to stop at Best Buy. And pick up Black Christmas on 4K. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Bob Birkin says, that's because it can be everyone and it's not a supernatural slasher. Well, I think, I don't know if that's because why. I think it's just whodunits are fun, So to your point, I think that might be true, although I don't know if fans are consciously aware of that. I think if I can expand on that, I think anytime you have a murder mystery, which is basically what Scream is, they're just 5 murder mysteries, it's always fun to put audiences in a position where they don't know who the killer is. It's a whodunit, right? And you have to guess who it is, and you're trying to figure it out. And that's always fun, no matter how many times you do it. So to your point, I think that is part of the appeal, is that it's a whodunit. I just question on how long can you continue to do that. I don't know. This next Scream movie is very important for the franchise because it's the first time they're really deviating and shifting focus away from Woodsboro and really away from the crux of that familiar, comfortable, nostalgic location. And there's always a chance. I mean, how many 6 installments in a franchise can we name that are really good? Not many. So it'll be very interesting to see how well it's a very important film. Scream fans, it's a very important film because this is it. Now, it doesn't have to be spectacular. Scream 6 doesn't have to be spectacular. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be the best in the franchise. It doesn't. It just has to be good. It has to be a good movie. Okay, so don't go into it with expectations. It's got to be the best Scream of all time. If it is, great. But because they've shifted focus and they're changing it up a little bit, it's just got to be a good movie, and people will go, "Huh, that wasn't bad. That actually worked. I liked it. Okay." You know what I'm saying? So it's a very important film in the Scream franchise, because if it doesn't work, if it fails and doesn't work, and you see, 30% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, but you also see 42% from, the viewers or whatever, if it bombs, and I have no reason to believe that it's going to. I have no reason to believe that it's going to at all. I actually have a feeling that it might actually be fresh and fun. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if it doesn't, it might be the end of the franchise, because it's a risk, right? It's a risk taking you out of the familiar, not to the general movie-going audience, but to the Scream fans. It's a risk. I don't know, man. We'll see. All right, 3 minutes to go. 3 minutes to go. Andrew Stevens says, give me a Scream movie where everyone dies. The TV turns off and stab. The meta movie in Scream is the actual meta movie. Ooh. Interesting. Interesting indeed. I think that might be a little too meta even for Scream fans, but you never know. You never know. Let me see here. Dream Villain says, if they bring Stu back, that takes away the realism of Scream. If he does come back, it goes into the realms of the supernatural killer, which wouldn't work at all. Yeah, I just don't think look, it's the same reason why people want Danielle Harris to come back. Although, that makes sense, of course, because her character is still alive. But the principle of the reasons why, right? I question whether, and I'm not saying anybody in this chat room, but I question whether the fan base really thinks about this from a story perspective. Not that you can't create scenarios where he comes back, but does it really service the story to bring him back? I think a lot of fans just more so lean into the nostalgia of the warm fuzzies, really, than they do, because it ruins that, it just ruins that kill. It's such a great kill. A fucking television dropped on his head, the very television that was playing Halloween and the horror movies from that night. Fantastic. Don't bring him back. He's dead. He's dead. They're all dead. All the killers should remain dead. You know what I mean? Because it should be a new whodunit every time. I don't want, because Stu would whatever performances this new cast of characters give, you bring Stu back and he's one of the killers, it's going to overshadow the new cast. And you don't want that. You don't want that. That's how I see it right now. Anyway, that's how I see it right now. All right, folks, listen, that's going to do it for me here on this Sunday, December the 18th, 2022. It's approaching 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you to my amazing moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Andrew Stevens, and Cody Snyder. You guys are amazing. Thank you to the Super Chat questions, the Super Chat questions that came in, the non-Super Chat questions that came in. I love seeing you guys talk about, Scream, and just really kind of building up the discussion in the chat room. I really like it a lot. If you want to follow me on social media, you can. There are my links right there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. All my links are in the description. Check them out until your heart's content. And when your heart is content, check them out again. And if you're watching live, or even if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts on the Scream 6 teaser trailer and what you're hoping to get out of this Scream 6 movie. All right, that's going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your Sunday. I'll see you all tomorrow night at 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our last Two Dudes and Some Bullshit before the holidays. Make sure you tune into that. And have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Cheers.